We're going to start then with Rishi Sunak, who's going to tell world leaders assembled in Sharm el-Sheikh for COP27 that the fight against climate change can be turned into a global mission for new jobs and clean growth.
It is his first outing on the world stage as Prime Minister, and he'll also announce more than £200 million in funding for green technologies, but in developing nations.
He's also expected to hold meetings with the French President, Emmanuel Macron, where the issue of migrants crossing the Channel, well, you'd imagine that's going to be top of their personal agenda.
Well, joining us now is Harry Phibbs, local government editor of Conservative Hope. Very good morning to you. Look, COP27, I mean, is anything serious going to be accomplished here, or is this all a bunch of talking heads burning carbon fossil fuels on the way there?
Oh, I think it's a farce. You know, I think that there's a lot of hypocrisy. And if anything, it can be quite damaging, because the way to get attention is to be the world leader who is the most alarmist and the most catastrophizing. And instead of, it's not just we're there at 10 minutes to midnight, we're at 5 minutes to midnight or 2 minutes to midnight or whatever. And the more they hype that, rather than actually trying to maintain a sense of proportion, trying to be practical. I mean, at least Rishi Sunak sounds as though he's trying to come up with some positive, practical ideas.
I mean, I've got to say, seeing it as a mission for growth and jobs, and you can see that angle of it. I mean, at least that is putting a positive spin on it. But that's going to get outweighed, isn't it, by the fact that we've got these reparations and we're apparently going to be forking out hundreds of millions of pounds to poorer countries to deal with green technologies.
Well, and that I think is I mean, what hardly knows where to start it. So the idea that we should
go down like a lead balloon.
Well, the idea that we should be apologising for the Industrial Revolution and the bringing about modern capitalism, which has had such a dramatic impact in reducing poverty, not just for Britain but around the world. I mean, that's absurd for us to apologise for that.
No, but it's not about. I mean, the word reparations carries that connotation, doesn't it? That it's apologising, but it's actually being termed as loss and damages. When you've got a country like Pakistan, which had a third of its country underwater as a result of climate change, this is about trying to make sure that country remains sustainable, that country is able to get back on its feet, and that will have positive impacts, won't it, on things like migration and stability in the region? Well,
I think that when it comes to overseas aid, the idea of transferring money, particularly if it's transferred to a government, the idea that that's had any practical benefit I'd be pretty sceptical of. But also then you start to look at which governments are we talking about. And Ed Miliband said, we wouldn't be talking about China because they're, rather hostile. Well, Pakistan is pretty hostile. I don't think for a minute that would be an effective use of our money to be transferring it to some of these hostile governments.
I mean, Neil's been in touch this morning, and you sort of think it's about playing to the base, isn't it? It's about playing to your home country. Neil says Britain cannot pay anything to poorer countries. We are heavily taxed in a recession. How much more can we take? And whatever your views on climate, whatever your views on international aid, this is going to supersede everything, isn't it, really, at the state we're in at the minute?
Yes, but I don't even think we should feel terribly guilty about that, because I don't think that the money would be effectively used anyway. So I think the whole thing is quite absurd for us to even be contemplating it.
Okay.
I mean, there is at least something positive which may come out of all of this, which is these discussions with Emmanuel Macron over what to do about migrants and channel crossings. However, it does seem slightly absurd that they both had to fly to Sharm el-Sheikh to talk about what's happening over the Channel.
Yes, and I'm sceptical. I mean, obviously, I hope it succeeds. I'm sceptical as to why the French would want to stop asylum seekers leaving France and coming to Britain. I mean, maybe I'm looking at it in a rather straightforward way, but I just can't see that they would have their heart in it and helping us.
Come on, no one's going to suggest they're going to have their heart in it, but if they can have financial incentives, which we assume is what's going to boil down to, then they might be able to do it. But you've got a predecessor to Rishi Sunak who wasn't even sure if France was friend or foe. Relations need to be improved.
Of course, it'd be good for us to have relations. I mean, I think really what I think would be effective would be for us to take whatever legal changes that are necessary, whether it's repealing the Human Rights Act or withdrawing from the European Convention on Human Rights, whatever is necessary for us to be able to restore the Rwanda policy. I think that if that was operating, then I think that could be highly effective.
I mean, what is interesting when it comes to the whole migrant issue, which, I mean, is being addressed in a small way with this bilateral meeting with Macron, but what is clear from what we've seen, even just over the last 9 days, the system is absolutely falling apart now. Some urgent action is going to have to be taken, isn't it?
Oh, it's getting completely overloaded. And, I think that if it's necessary to take legal changes, then those should be pushed through Parliament very quickly. If some of the Conservative MPs rebel and then there's some complaints about it, too bad. We need to work out what is necessary for us to be able to move people to Rwanda, and whatever the legal obstacles are, it needs to be resolved quickly.
Well, Rwanda's it's Adam.
It's Mark Rutte of the Netherlands, just arriving in Sharm el-Sheikh there.
There you go.
There you go, a little bit of a handshake. We're keeping the cameras on live arrivals. You never know, we might see Rishi Sunak arriving in a moment.
I mean, Rwanda's a contentious issue, right? But that aside, if there's another solution, what do you think about what support there may be for stronger measures from Labour in all of this? Because at the weekend, I mean, Keir Starmer was actually making some, for the Labour Party, it's pretty unusual comments on migration.
There's a contradiction there that half the time they're saying, refugees welcome, the more the merrier, there's no problem at all. And then the other half they're saying, oh yes, of course we agree that we can't have people coming illegally, and of course we need to have secure borders. So if we could all agree that there was a problem and that we need to prevent people coming in the country illegally, that yes, we should be welcoming to as many genuine refugees as we can. Yes, we should have legal managed migration, but that we need to actually be in control of our borders. And if we could all agree on that, that would be a starting point to then working out what to do about it.
Yeah.
OK, always interesting to get your views. Harry Phibbs, local government editor for Conservative Home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.